Now you might think I'm going to do an Irish story, but that was just sort of to get in the Irish mode. But I'm actually going to tell a story about spring. A story that comes from Italy. Now, as most people in the Northeast here know, and the same in Europe, that crocuses, especially the purple ones, they bring spring. When you see them pop up through the snow, we know that spring can't be far away. And this is the story of how crocuses came to be. Once, long ago, in Italy, there was a poor farmer and his wife. They had one young son. They worked hard in their grapevines all day long. Yet they were still very, very poor. Every day the boy would gather the grapes into the basket, and though they were luscious and juicy and sweet, he would drag them to market, and none would sell. And sure enough, when he returned from the market, he was yelled at, beaten, and sent to bed without supper. And he always went hungry. This went on and on. No matter what they could do, they could not sell their grapes. The farm was going under. They had no food. They had no coins to buy the things that they needed. Well, early one morning the boy did as he always did, which was get up and gather the grapes into his basket, and he carried them to market, trying his best to sell them to every merchant and everybody who passed by. And yet not a single grape could he sell. Sure enough, he knew he would return to a yelling from his father and mother, and sure enough, a beating. And so it was, he went home slowly on a back road where people could not see him very well. And as he was walking along carrying his grapes, he heard a voice call out to him, "Hello there! Excuse me, sir, could you spat a grape? Even just one small dried up grape. I am so hungry. I am so thirsty. Just one small grape." Oh, the boy looked around, for there was no one around him. All he saw was a pile of rags. It was a big pile of rags, but it's still a pile of rags. But again the voice called out, "Please, just one grape. Won't you please help me?" And sure enough, the boy looked, and the pile of rags moved, and a hand, old and withered, came out. Well, the boy thought to himself, "I'm going to get yelled at and beat anyway. What does it matter if I come back with all the grapes or some of the grapes?" So he reached into his basket. He pulled out the most luscious, fullest bunches of grapes he could find, and he handed it to that withered hand. And a head came out and ate each one of those grapes as the boy stood there watching. And as the last grape was swallowed with a smack of her lips, the boy was getting ready to go when the rags flew away. And before him no longer stood an old woman, but a magnificent, beautiful goddess, dressed in a shimmering gown with pearls and diamonds and rubies. "My kind son," she said, "you have done a favor to someone in need. Now I shall do something for you. If you go home and take those grapes in your basket and plant them in your father's field, you will see something grow in the morning, and you will never need or want for anything more." And with that, before the boy could ever say anything, she disappeared as fast as she had come. Well, the boy wasn't sure what to do, but he knew he had to follow her instructions. What good with the grapes anyway? And he carried them home. Sure enough, knew he would get yelled at, and as soon as he walked in the door and the father saw that he had grapes still in his basket, his face grew dark and hardened. But there on top of the grapes were coins, gold coins, enough gold coins to buy the entire house. Well, the parents were super happy about that, and he told them about what had happened on the road, and they all agreed, well, there was no harm in doing what the magic woman had said. So they went out that night, and in the field they planted each one of those grapes in a different spot. And sure enough, by the time the sun rose up in the east, and they came outside of their house, where each one of those grapes had been planted, a flower, a crocus, a purple crocus, bloomed out of the earth. And from that crocus came the saffron, the most expensive spice in the world. And never again did that family have need or want for anything. And that is the story of how crocuses came to be and why they mark the coming of the spring.